Okay. All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome again to my audiovisual channel. Today, I bring you episode number 11. We broke 10 episodes of a conversation about art, during which I look for the meaning and purpose of both art and beauty through conversations with colleagues in different artistic fields. Today, I will have this conversation with Martin Campos, an artist I only know through Instagram for now, but his figure drawings and paintings are incredibly inspiring and a pleasure to look at. My favorite part of his work is indeed his drawings, but the paintings he produces are also enjoyable and they're also very good translations of his drawings. So, Martin, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for talking to me, and please go ahead and introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners and tell them who you are and what you do.
What do I do? I'm Martin Campos. Actually, my whole name is Arsenio Martin Campos. And I'm a figurative artist based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm originally from New Mexico, but moved to Philadelphia in 2001 to attend the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. Prior to that, I was an wouldn't say an art historian, but I was an art history major. I was going to go into graduate school, and I had to make a decision whether I wanted to do that, pursue the fun stuff that I'd always loved to do. So at 29, I reached a crossroads in my life where I had to decide what I wanted to be. And I threw everything into the art thing alongside all my stuff in a car and drove all the way from New Mexico to Philadelphia, kind of sight unseen. And the rest is kind of history, really. I never looked back on that. And it's just an incredible journey that I've come this far, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes from here. So I don't know, that's a pretty good little tell you
Indeed.
a little bit about who I am, and there's a lot more to that, but I don't want
to of course there is
go on too many diatribes. There's tons of stories, some happy, some sad, pitfalls, things I had to sacrifice, and things that I stayed with. And that would be the figure. I think if I were to say anything that would, if someone were to ask me, what can you say sums up your life, I think it would be the figure. And my dedication to all those models that I've worked with to help me figure out what the heck I have to say about my time on this spinning orb. So that's that.
Okay, that is indeed an excellent beginning of the conversation and introduction to you and your work. So you said you were born in Mexico. So how old?
New Mexico.
New Mexico. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So then the crossroads that you referred to was when you had to choose between studying art history versus continuing to study and draw the figure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved academia. It's something that I would love to pursue again. But I was always, I think, a dexterous child. I always loved getting my hands dirty. I come from a family of people who are very good with their hands, and it was always it was always the thing for me to kind of build things with my hands. But being pragmatic, I think, kind of eclipsed that, and I had a love to read, and I loved history. And so that became the guiding force for me, more to get me out of my little town that I lived in. But as I was able to evolve out of a little part of the world I was in and become a little bit more articulate with what I wanted, I think that ended up being eclipsed by the very first thing I love to do. I had enough. I learned how to fly, to develop my wings and balance, and then I was able to fly. So the whole intellectual enterprise that I loved was the thing that eventually supported me to take the risk to do, I think, the more dexterous thing, to create painting and drawing. So that's that. Yeah.
Okay. So then you ended up rather focusing on the figure, but I mean, you also just mentioned that you like to read anyway. So I mean, I figure that on your own you were able to kind of supplement or complement, I guess, the bigger, what became bigger in the figure drawing. Have you been able to, in any capacity, like kind of complement or just continue to nourish the interest for art history on your own time,
Oh, yeah, it's always been, it always is the mainstay. I think, not in a literal way. I think more of a spiritual way. It has a way of continuously supporting what I do with
art
paint
history
and charcoal. No, I think more in a holistic sense. Art history opened up just the investigation of specific periods of art, that inquisitive way of wanting to know about how a specific artist in a specific time was affected by not only their formal elements, but their social, political, economic surroundings. So reading and being very, very cognizant of that helped me and continues to help me when I'm trying to work through a painting. It's really hard to explain. It's kind of a nonverbal thing that I'm able to access areas when I'm conceiving a painting from that, I think, ability to have that kind of a critical thinking process that I developed through the study of art history. And I have a critical way of working the way I do because of that. I think that's one of the big benefits of spending all that time in my undergraduate and then moving into possible graduate school in that helped me. And actually helped me as I got older and I decided, I'm going to actually go to art school at 30, which was scary because a lot of my contemporaries in school were at least 10 or 15 years younger than me. So my critical thinking, learning how to be in the moment, came as a huge benefit to me when I had this incredible 4-year time period. I didn't perform. I was ready to think, I think, outside of making it look like a pretty drawing. I was able to pull myself outside of any situation and see everything. And then really take a lot out of it, that moment, knowing that the 4 years was going to be gone in a flash.
Right.
Those 4 years in art school is just like you kind of have that opportunity to work with a net, fail, fall apart. Because then when school's over, the net gets pulled out from under you, and you have to try to walk the razor's edge of learning how to survive as an artist. So a lot of that kind of critical thinking, academia, helped me develop those skills that I would later use in art school and living after and learning how to keep doing it.
Okay.
That's the thing. How do you keep doing it? How do you
Right. Yeah.
keep the conversation going? How do you keep the forward inertia going? How do you develop uh, ways of not stopping? I
Right. How to
think
keep
that's the
making
key.
work.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, so you both draw and paint. What do you use drawing and painting for? How would you say they're similar, and how would you say they're different? And what do you like about drawing that painting can't, or that, in your opinion, that painting can't do, and vice versa? And I mean, how do you, that was like three questions together. It's kind of like a generalized subject that I find very interesting when an artist consistently draws and paints.
Hmm.
I mean, really, it can be applied to when an artist does uh, any medium, more than one medium consistently. So I wonder, um, why do you draw when you draw? Why do you paint when you paint? How do they relate in your practice?
Well, drawing is king. It's the first thing. It's the most immediate response I get when I'm driven by the impulse to create.
Okay.
Um, and so it's the very primitive um, drive that I get, which I consider more important than painting. Painting
That
serves
drive,
that.
that primitive drive is
Yeah,
more important than painting?
yes, it
Okay.
is to me. When I'm painting, I'm actually channeling drawing. It's like colored drawing. And I
Mm-hmm.
teach that to a lot of my students that when they're painting, when they go into chroma, they go into acrylic or oil or pastel, that uh, the most important thing to do is to learn as many different mediums as you can. That way you can cross-pollinate. Because sometimes people have a problem with the viscosity of paint or the fact that acrylic dries too quick or watercolor is very, very unforgiving.
Mm.
But it all goes back to drawing. And I always tell them to emote that primal sense in the medium that you're working in. So, for instance, when I'm working in oil, I'm always thinking that I'm drawing in charcoal. And I tend to, usually I'm able to kind of, of, of not have too much trouble with oil if I emote it as drawing. So I guess I'm kind of answering your question in a roundabout way, but I think the more it's drawing, it's the key. Everything comes from that. And I try to get my paintings to have that same immediate primal urge, that feeling when you're putting the charcoal down in a very expressive way is what I chase with every other medium.
Mm.
So drawing serves that. Uh, so, I would always tell people that the first thing I'll pick up in the morning is a piece of charcoal
Mm-hmm.
before I pick up a brush. And when I do pick up a brush, I think I I know it's oil, but I think that I kind of do this kind of magical hoodoo thing where I imagine it's a piece of charcoal or a pastel, and then, oh my God, something happens. So uh, I think magic exists in the world.
Mm-hmm.
People say that it doesn't exist. It totally exists.
Sure.
When you can take a medium like oil, squeeze it out of a tube, and um, you know, sublimate into that, and whether it's an emotion or if you're thinking about it being another medium, how it completely transfixes you and how it creates something very, very magical. So I don't know. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, of course. It's definitely helpful and interesting for sure. But then I have more questions in that case.
Please.
Um, okay, so because I definitely like what you went into about how drawing is king, and it's like it's the first in terms of it being the first thing you think of when you want to make something.
Mhm.
which makes a lot of sense. I mean, I completely agree with the sense of immediacy, because you don't have to necessarily, you don't have to prepare a piece of paper, you don't have to prepare necessarily a pencil or the charcoal. Like with the charcoal, you don't have to sharpen anything, for example, if that's what somebody does. But I definitely agree that I think that drawing is the one that has the least amount of steps between wanting to and then doing, But would you say there is something else in terms of, I mean, besides that, I think that makes it precede somehow painting? Because I mean, I'm not like super well versed in art history or anything, but I do know that there was this one guy in the Renaissance. I think he wrote a book, Vasari. I don't know who it was.
Sorry.
The thing is that he wrote a book.
It was Vasari and then Cennino Cennini. I think it was Cennino Cennini wrote the Handbook of Artists.
Right. So there's something in there about drawing, or was it for the French school? I don't know. The thing is that it's been insinuated in art history, the impression that I get thus far, that drawing is the basis for art, in terms of you should learn to draw before you try to paint and do anything else and this kind of stuff. So what is it about drawing, in your opinion, in that case, that holds that place in terms of skill and the being the basis upon which an artist's foundation should be before? Not necessarily before, because nowadays we don't have, art students are not demanded of in the same way that they were for the School of Arts or whatever it is. But it's still, I mean, I'm fine with drawing being considered the basis of artistic skill. And then I have another continuing question after that. For your personal practice and in your opinion too, if you're still thinking about drawing while you're working with oil paints or with the paste, it's a different material to work with, then why in that case do you continue to make paintings if you're still, it's like, what it makes me think of a little bit? It's like you have your, it's like almost like you're thinking of a first love or something that you can't forget in a way.
Well, there's just certain feelings that charcoal can't do, and also looking at artists that influence you, I think part of the thing is you see people who do paintings and you feel like you want to do paintings because they come very close to the immediacy of flesh or the intensity of light or the dramatic sense of a narrative. And charcoal, in a very dry medium, has that limitation that it can't do that. I'm sure some people would argue with me who are purely pastelists or charcoalists or pencilists, and they're free to disagree. And that's the beauty of it.
Sure.
But I think, to quote de Kooning, he said that painting was invented because of flesh. You look at a Rembrandt painting. I've always told students that Rembrandt paintings to me sometimes are so intense that I could get a razor blade and go up to the canvas and touch it, and bile and blood would come out. It's that immediate to me how you can transcend that medium. That's the thing. And I think with oil or a chromatic, more of a gooey, more of a viscousy texture, okay?
Yes.
Lends itself to moving into that next realm with your work. Drawing is important, I think, for the formal elements, but I think it's even more important because it unlocks those valves of feeling that will get you to those moments. I think it's more important than I think
drawing
than the layman would think. It's taught in art schools. You got to learn how to draw, and then you should learn how to into copying master drawings and then doing casts, and then you finally get to work with the model, and then you can do a painting. And that's all well and true. But I think that it's not a blanket statement. There's so many people that don't have to do that. Some people are just naturally inclined to skip the line and get there. Francis Bacon, one of my big heroes, never went to art school. You know, he just out of the chutes was able to do what he did. And no one ever painted like him before, and no one will ever paint like him after. He completely created a world of his own, you know, a language. And that transfixes me. Those anomalies in art history where some artists jumped the line and they're still able to do it. So it's really about spirit, not so much the dogmatic approach to creating your work. I used to be a very conservative thinker about, you know, learning about art. But as I've grown older and have seen those people that kind of jump, I keep saying jumping the line ahead of everybody, I've had to throw that out the window and be more of a, I think, liberal thinker in that. And it's kind of present in the way that I teach, is I'm always letting people know, and I'm always telling them information that I know, probably well before they're able to actually do it. And I always inform them that it's your thoughts and your dreams and your passion that really drives what you do, you know. And for me to hold back would be equivalent to murder. I would never hold back. You're not ready for this thought, so I'm not, no, let them know, because you never know when you're going to get someone that's going to jump the line and do something incredible.
Yeah, and I guess sometimes even if a person in the moment isn't like ready, quote unquote, for receiving some information, they'll be able to like live with it and digest it, and then whenever they're ready, because that happened to me actually, and I've told this story once. Bless you, salud. That when I did cast drawing in school, and I really did not care for it very much, and I also didn't understand the language that the teacher was using to when he was explaining certain things. He was talking about relationships, like this is above this, and this is, and like that first semester, the first, I did not understand what he was talking about, and then months later, I caught myself the internal dialogue while I was drawing. I caught myself being like, "Oh, this is above this. This is below this." So like then I understood what he was telling me. So
we all have different. Yeah, we all have different levels of maturing to an idea.
Yeah.
And that was a big aha moment about different ways that people approach a concept. When I went to the academy here in Philadelphia and studied under some, at that time, didn't know how big of a deal I got myself into, that I was studying under some very powerful painters, and how after I left art school and years later, how the way that my contemporaries that I went to school with were kind of moving in different levels. And it's like, yeah, people take, you get someone that can just get a concept and just boom, they can do it, and others take years. So
okay,
I think that's how it is with like drawing to painting for me.
Okay.
So
all right, so then let's in that case get to the pith of the podcast, Mr. Campos, and why don't you tell me, what is art in your opinion? Are you okay?
Yeah, I just drank something and it went down the wrong pipe, but it's getting better. It's clear now.
Good.
So what is art?
Yes, in your opinion, what is art?
It's something that we create so someone can bump into. or
Uh-huh.
throw away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
What
reminds
is
me of
art?
that reminds me of something somebody said about sculpture, that it's something that you
Yeah,
bump into when
yeah,
you're backing up or something.
yeah. That's the art school joke that you
Yeah,
tell to piss off the sculpture
indeed.
majors. But no, art is God. It's a big. That is a very broad.
Mm,
I guess one would say, what does art mean to me? Um, it's wow. Well, for me, it was something that I, in the beginning, used to create a world uh, that I wanted to be in, because the world that I lived in wasn't exactly my cup of tea. I would draw and paint the things I wanted to be
mm,
if I couldn't actually do them. And then as I got older, I realized all those things I wanted to be weren't the things I wanted to be. The whole thing I was in the doing of it, the
mm,
artist. So it's a magical realm of creating a world uh, that's beyond you, that you hope to be. And I think as you get older, art becomes something that gives you some kind of respite for the fact that our time on this planet is absolutely fleeting. And I'm actually attracted to those figurative artists that I wouldn't say illustrate, it's a bad word, not that illustrators are bad, but they put down this presence of an existence. I'm very enamored of artists that destroy and leave a trace, like a stain on the floor or a rip on the wall. The presence of a human, uh, a um, a concrete thing it stands as a symbol of the presence of a person's existence. Okay, so that it's like this thing of wanting to keep death away.
mm-hmm,
I'm going to be 50 this year.
mm-hmm.
It's like, how did that happen?
Uh-huh.
How did 50 happen? So a lot of the way that I think about art is, I think, naturally geared towards my impending end. It's coming quick. I'm halfway. Some would say halfway off this planet. Some people would call that a morose way of thinking. I think it's a beautiful way to think.
Mm-hmm,
You know, and some of the best work is ahead of me. Because of the fact that I'm leaving soon. You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so so I think that's for me art. In the beginning, it is beautiful and fruitful, and it makes you get out of the nest. And then in the middle, you perform, and in the end, you uh, really mature into it and find the reason why you really were doing it in the first place, and then you die.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's kind of it for me, at
Okay.
least.
Yes, yes. Okay. So there's just to see if I kind of grasp what you said. There seems to be something about both fleeting, something that's fleeting, but at the same time something that is eternally permanent, like what you were saying about because you said something about the symbols of a person's existence, like when somebody in the act of making work, they leave behind like a stain on the floor or the rip in the on the canvas that you said.
Oh,
So does that seem about right? Like so in that
yeah,
case, art.
yeah.
So then in that case, what is the fleeting part of art in what you were saying? You mean like that while you're making it is like that is a fleeting moment because.
Hmm. It's the only time that the artist really owns a piece is when they're in the middle of
Mm,
doing it,
mm-hmm,
and it's kind of a sad thing when it's over. You live as you do it, and that presence, either working with a model or the memory of a model or using a photo reference or drawing a model in your studio, you're in that moment and you're leaving this stain of of their moment there. You hope that the finished piece is a great statement on that one moment
Mm-hmm.
where you're living, because you don't have the past, you're not yet in the future, but you're always in the now.
Mm-hmm.
So I want my piece to um, always feel like I want the viewer to feel the feeling I felt in the moment when I did it, right?
Yes.
So I think that probably about as simple as I can sum it up.
Yes, yes.
And it's kind of Martin 10 years ago wouldn't have thought that. Martin 5 years ago wouldn't have thought that. I think that what keeps me doing it is because I want to see if I can keep doing it. So
Okay. Okay, so then, no, I like I like the conversation. It's
yeah,
like, um, very healthy food. It's kind of very
yeah,
healthy food, very healthy brain food.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
okay, so then, all right, so I really like the idea of how the act of making art has both fleeting and permanent within it, like the concept, because from what I understand, and thank you for elaborating again, um, the fleeting part is while the artist is making the work. That moment while the artist is making a drawing or a painting or a sculpture or whatever, that's their now in that moment, and the now is
Mm,
constantly fleeting. Now
mhm.
is constantly fleeting.
Exactly.
And so the piece of work that is the result of all of those nows passing by, that physical object that is left behind, made from all the fleeting nows, becomes permanent in a way.
Forever. Yeah.
Yes,
It's
okay.
it's like you're arresting time.
Yes,
Artists
of
are
course.
big. Artists are like, there's the whole thing again, magician. There's the magic. You're actually freezing a moment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You go to a museum and you can look at a Titian. You could look at a Vermeer or a Sargent. Why is it that when you look at them, you're transported to another time? They've been able, through their power of observation and being in the moment, they've been able uh, to capture you and let them be a part of that time that they were in. That's why
Yes.
you stay. That's why you stare at those paintings, right? It's why when I go to the Louvre and I'll look at a Degas or something, or the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and look at a Manet, and you're suddenly in that moment because they, for my work money, were very successful in arresting that time forever. You know,
Yes.
2,000 years from now, someone will look at a Degas ballet dancer and feel it. That's
Mm-hmm.
powerful. That's
Yeah.
absolutely powerful when you
It
can do that.
it really is, and it just, even though we've been talking about it for a few minutes now, it's like, oh, I mean, I guess what you said about arresting time, uh, meaning basically making it stop in a way. And also, like what you said just now about when you go to the museums and everything, and you see these works from 100 years ago or longer than that, way longer than that, in lots of occasions. It's kind of like time travel, basically, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I definitely feel that way. Also, I remember I saw some of Michelangelo's drawings in the at the Met when they had that show, and I mean, it's not just with Michelangelo. It's for sure has happened with other things like the really old sculptures and stuff, and it's just crazy. I mean, like what you're saying, it's crazy. It's crazy that it's crazy that Michelangelo breathed on it
Yeah,
and touched it with his skin and his hands.
yeah. Well, that's what you
Uh,
bring. That's the other thing that makes art so wonderful, is that create the presence that has been displaced that you 200 years ago can feel. I feel the same way. I'll go nose to nose to a sergeant and God, he was right here.
Yeah.
He was right here. So there's that other hoodoo thing, that beautiful piece of magic that happens, which really tells you it's not really about the painting, really.
Right.
It's not about the drawing. It's about what you do to the viewer. Because I think it's an innate quality all humans have to time travel like that. Anybody off the street can go who isn't an artist, the lay person off the street, the milkman or the guy that works on the cables. Take him to the Met and he'll look at a Manet. He may not appreciate the formal elements, but he'll know that it was from another time. So, but then, when you educate yourself and look at a lot of work, it becomes more of a thing. So I love to be a part of that heritage, and a very small part, that I'll be gone. And I hope that I can affect maybe one of my descendants and hopefully inspire them from the past to do something that's completely out of their realm,
Yes.
to do what David Bowie said, walk into the water and you're doing something well when you can't touch the ground. That is powerful to do that. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. I like the direction of the size. I think kind of like the size of the things we're talking about. All right. So, okay, Mr. Campos, what is beauty in your opinion?
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's an easy answer. Beauty is anything. It's I'd like to say that it's not the obvious. I think it's in the fact that you can be alive every morning. That you can taste a good cup of coffee early in the morning as you look out the window. It's the beauty is for me the germ that gets me to want to create something. I'm inspired by a model's pose. Just the fact that they're doing something to affect an emotion, that is the beauty. The beauty is the little pains you don't feel in your body. Like, I don't think people are aware that when light hits your retina, it's an actual physical thing. It's causing a tiny little pain that you'll never, ever be able to feel. And that's beautiful. That's beauty. There's pain in there. There's a lot of pain in the world that helps create beauty. So, I could go on and say beauty are those formal elements of color and the golden section and a certain palette or a beautiful part of the form or of Michelangelo and Degas, but I think it's much bigger than that. It's just you can't talk about beauty without pain. You can't have dark without light. You can't have sweet without salty. You can't have hot without cold. And with beauty, you can't have pain. And that's how I see beauty.
Okay. And in that case, what in that case would you say is the pain that your drawings and paintings are paired with in order to?
I think the beautiful curse of having to take the real and make it into the flat. There's a tremendous ownership to that. The model gets up on the riser. You have a clear sheet of paper, and it's something I always tell myself before I started drawing. Like, I don't know if I can do this.
Every time?
Every time. And then it happens, and there were two musicians that said that had two separate, identical sayings about it that made me feel very good. And it's Jimmy Page and David Gilmour, two great guitarists. And David Gilmour said that when he made when they recorded Dark Side of the Moon, you know, he never got to hear it because he was recording it. He wished he could be that young, like 18-year-old kid who heard it for the first time, because he never ever will have it, which is insane because he's the one that actually did it.
Yeah.
You know, and then Jimmy Page, the guitarist for Led Zeppelin, said something to the effect that he wakes up thinking that one day he may not be able to play the guitar. The thing that completely defines who he is, was, and never will be. And he has to keep that day far away. And I feel, you know, when I'm creating a piece, when I start one, I feel an incredible kind of intensity. And then you just got to bite your lip and do it and create, see what happens, you know? And that's the thing. And then you get into it, you start painting, and you get all these other little hard things. You have to scrape it because it's not working, and all these other things that are happening. But that initial response is always, you know, life is full of taking leaps and challenges. You know, when I was 19, I had to leave home to figure out how to do it on my own. At 29, I had to leave art history and go into painting. At 45, I had to quit my job and trust that I could make living with my art. You know, and those were these moments in my life where I reached the fork in the road that I had to make the decision. So, you know, just keep as many forks in the road as possible.
Yeah.
To push yourself so you don't plateau. You know, artists they plateau, and then they gotta go, and then they plateau again. So, yeah, that's kind of it.
Okay. I really like the magical aspect surrounding art and making art, and, you know, what it is and beauty and everything that you keep mentioning during the conversation. And you just mentioned the moment when something isn't working, like a painting or drawing, doesn't matter what it is, because, you know, that's also a normal part of the creative process of making a work of art. So I wonder how does that magical part of, like, the spirit or the impetus that keeps you that keeps an artist wanting to get through that difficult, you know, what is the role of that magical impetus during those times of difficulty? Because, you know, there's lots of times that somebody is like, all right, it's like they're like, I'm done with this drawing, or the drawing is done with me, or what, you know, and they sometimes they quit or they give up or whatever it is, but then other people choose to keep going. So, like, what would you say?
It's that spirit of the person or the thing you're painting that drives you. That's the magic that compels you to want to keep it abrading the surface. You know, they're throwing all of this life at you, and you equal out that intensity by making more marks, whether they're beautiful or destructive. That's the thing, is you're trying to burn their feeling they're throwing at you as well as you can on the surface, or in a poem or a song. You know, it's a thorn. You get the thorn and try to pull it out. Keep pushing it into yourself, and it won't come out. You know, it begins to get irritated. You know, and then at a certain point, you look at your hand, and then it just pops out on its own. So, I don't know when a painting's done. Sometimes I'll do one and it'll be like that, and some take almost a year to do. Very, very, very non-linear. and I embrace the non-linearity of it. I just love it. It's just um, amazing how it happens. You know, I finished a piece yesterday that was just sitting around for almost a week. It looked horrible, and I love the fact that it looked horrible. I think what I love about it is I see an opportunity in something like that I didn't see almost 15 years ago. And sure enough, I pulled it up on my easel or whatever I used to paint on, and it was done in like 10 minutes.
Huh.
You know, and there's something kooky about that, and then
Yeah.
um, so I just surrender myself to the universe and let it go. And the more that I surrender myself to that, the paint happens, the drawing happens. You know, I'm no longer, the more that I think that I'm not in charge of the moment and let the moment be, and I am just a conduit for that, the more I produce, then the more that it comes out uh, in an effective way.
Are you religious? Do you believe in,
No,
the Christian God or any?
no. My religion is just staying up. It's doing the artwork. I came up Catholic. I'm a recovering Catholic. I love the ritual. I love the
Mm,
ritual of it. I think one of the things that I took out of Catholicism was the Mass, the whole Eucharist, the whole idea of the transubstantiation, that weird thing, they ring a bell and somehow this little wafer becomes the body of Christ.
mm-hmm.
Very Roman, has a very, very Roman arcane beginning, the whole idea of cannibalism and the turning of the magic there. The wine turns to blood. And that always fascinated me. I always felt when I was younger and having to go to church on Sundays, how odd that was. How crazy it was. The bloodiness,
Mm.
that whole primal viscous, you'd go and there'd be stations of the cross around you and like these really bloody
It's kind of
Jesuses, and
gory, yeah.
very, very gory. And I somehow was attracted to that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, okay. And then it would manifest itself in the way that I think about paint, if I'm thinking about a specific quality of skin or flesh, I'll mix the paint and I'll think about it so much that it stops becoming paint and it becomes viscera. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to kind of change it's like alchemy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's alchemy in an artistic way. And so my religion has helped me to kind of think outside of it. And I think that when you live, you create, and when you die, that's it. No, it's lights out. But it makes me really love the moment. It makes life even much more fruitful. I drink the best coffees I can get. I drink the best wine. If there's an opportunity to travel, I do it. And when I travel, I get the most expensive cheese and the best dinner, because you never know. You
Yeah.
never know. So living in that moment is key. And I think to subscribe for me, and religion is a very beautiful thing. It brings hope, and it gives people the sense of unity and fellowship. And by no means, do I diminish that. I have three sisters and a younger brother, and they're a bit religious, two or three of them, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them such warmth in their lives. I just don't. I just love creating work. For lack of a better way of saying it. So yeah. Does it sound like I could be religious by using this kind of
Yeah, I mean, it's just that
theological kind
uh,
of vernacular and magic and the whole idea of transubstantiate? Yeah, I'm just borrowing it.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just that that's why I asked you, I guess, because like the terminology that you were using, and not just the terminology, but the impression that I get in terms of like how you feel while you're making work, and like specifically what you said about relinquishing the desired, just giving in to the moment, like while you're making the work, and then the work just happens.
Yeah,
That reminded that made me wonder, I guess, if
yeah, it's magic. Religion is magic. It's a
yeah,
belief
yeah.
system in something that is there, but you don't see it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
stories, and tales that are like fables, or they're cautionary tales of life, and they stand as symbols to or examples to live your life in the best way. And I love that. I love the storytelling of it, but the kind of sinking into it and letting it become the prime mover in what I do. I don't subscribe to. I like the isms, but I'm not too keen on the. I like the party, but I don't
Yeah.
like to. I don't like to stay too long.
You don't like the hangover.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And There's that too. So, yeah.
So I think this might be the last question. What
Oh,
role? So because thus far there's like this mystical, with all the magic and all these, and art and beauty, maybe, if somebody wanted to. But I wonder, in that case, what role would you say discipline plays in the overall outcome? Because even if you think it's magical, like, you still bring yourself to do it every day. Are there times where you don't want to do it and you're like, all right, I
oh
have to
yeah.
do it because of discipline, commitment?
Well, that's that old kind of pedagogy of art school that still stays there. You got to do it. Got to be present every day.
Mm.
I think magic is just, or the whole idea of grabbing ideas out of the sky or out of your mind. I mean, you have to be present to do that. You have to be in your place to be ready to grab it. You can't sit in a room and wait for it to happen. Did Chuck Close say, talent or inspiration is what other people do. The rest of us get busy.
Mm-hmm. I like
And
that.
I'm paraphrasing that. You just have to be in your space. I come into my studio where I'm in right now early, about 8 in the morning. I don't leave until around 5.
Okay.
I probably only work about an hour. The rest of the time I'm cleaning or working on a presentation for a class, or I'm drinking coffee, or I'm watching the latest Korean zombie movie. I love Koreans. They absolutely own the whole zombie genre. I love horror movies. And, and all the while I'm kind of looking at the work that's surrounding me. It's being in my space, because I'll be watching something and then my periphery will see, I need to put purple there. And I'll just start working. I prefer to work that way. And that's the role that I always, people look at my work and the amount that I produce, and they can't believe that I just,
Work about an
poop,
hour a day.
poop around my studio. Like, no way, Martin. You go in there for like 6 hours, and you only work an hour, and you post that many pieces. It's like, yeah, because if I worked at 8 in the morning and just worked, I would end up destroying stuff because I'm too critical about it.
Mm-hmm.
I start looking at it. If you look at something for too long, you start nitpicking at it.
Mm.
And then you let the voices come in. It's not good. They won't believe it, And then you just destroy this beautiful thing,
Okay.
John Cage said this beautiful quote that Philip Guston ended up talking about, and it's such a great quote, and it goes something, and I'm paraphrasing, to the effect that, when you get into the studio, you have all these voices. You have your mother, your father, your critic, your teacher, you're a gallery owner, and they're all talking. And one by one, each one of those voices leave the room. If you're lucky, you leave the room and the painting is there. And so it's like learning how to kind of exercise. There's that religion again. those those extraneous influences, so you can purely be there. And that takes time. That takes time to do that. And I embrace, you have to learn how to quiet the voices, so it's a pure, immediate, direct line from the universe, or the big Om, whatever makes you do it. So I'll do that. I'll come into the studio and just know that that's what's going to happen. And I end up creating a lot of good work that way. I wouldn't subscribe that to everybody.
Right.
It doesn't work for other people, but every artist has a way of kind of living in their space. There's an art to knowing how to live with your work, to make it happen. And you may end up spending your whole life figuring that out. The art, your subject, is a pretext to all that. So. Okay.
Well, I think that's an excellent place to close it out. And yeah, because I really like that part about the studio practice just now. So, Martin, please tell our viewers and listeners what you're working on lately and where your work can be found, and also about this online workshop that's coming up, or whatever you want, everything you want.
Well, currently I'm building a robot in the corner of my studio that you can't see it here, and I'm building it so it'll, when I die, it will. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not building a robot.
I was believing you. I was like, wow.
Building a robot. Well, most of what I do is on. I think I perform and do all my work here on Instagram. Like we're on Instagram, we're on Zoom right now. Because I have a huge I wouldn't say huge following, but I got followers. I feel indebted to a lot of the people that follow my work, and feel that somehow I give them a little bit of something that can help them do what they want. It's incredible with virtual media, with virtual teaching and the whole virtual conferencing, and then you have Instagram, that you can connect to people and help them. I've worked with people in other countries, literally, where they were literally underneath their covers drawing because they couldn't let anybody see it because of the religion or what someone would think, and I'm just completely moved by that, how they have chosen me, some of them, to help them. So I think for me, that's important, to be someone they could come to, they can get inspiration, or they can get help from, and also to support a lot of the models that work out there. I like to say that for the grace of models go I. I would not be here in Philadelphia. I would not have had a solo show in Paris that I had 2 years ago. I wouldn't have been able to have gone to South Africa and teach a workshop in New Zealand, awesome. Spain, because of models. They gave me hope. They're the ones that helped me throughout my life. And I'm only, the biggest credit goes to them. Without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And so that's another part of my obligation, to do the figure drawing, is to keep that line going for them. The unspoken models, the models I've worked with in the past that are no longer here, and the models that I may use in the future, and the models I'm working with now. So a lot of what I'm just speaking about, you'll see on Instagram. Every month I host a workshop personally from me, from my studio. And I change the theme every month. This month I have a figure painting 3-day workshop every Tuesday from, I think it starts on 15th. Could be wrong. I don't have the information in front of me. But all the Tuesdays in February, and it's going to be figure painting. We currently have about 14 people. My limit is 20. I don't like to have more than 20. I like to foster a very cohesive community in the group. I'm not into doing those workshops where there's 100 people and you never get this, and you never get to talk to the student. It's just horrible. I like to see them and laugh with them and look at their work. So I limit it to 20. But yeah, every month I do a personal little workshop. Next month I'm thinking it's going to be the figure in pastel again. I've been getting people who want me to do that 3-day workshop. And those people keep me going, you know. I think, and you got to make the money, but what I love is that I learn from them.
Right. Yes.
You know, they're every time I teach, I get better because of them. They're the ultimate teachers, you know. And so I'm always gleaning a bit of greatness from my students. So yeah, that's that.
That's excellent. All right. Thank you so very much, Martin, for joining me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for your words. Thank you for your thoughts. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Feel free to let Martin and I know what you think of this conversation in the comments section. I also invite you to subscribe to my audiovisual channel. Martin's Instagram will be in the show notes, in the caption of the video. It is a pleasure to see his. I'm talking about you in third person, but Martin, is a pleasure to see your. I want to tell you directly that it's a pleasure to see your posts and your drawings. They're really very inspiring. I invite everyone to subscribe to this channel, because more of these conversations are already scheduled, and I invite you to like this video and share it with all your friends and frenemies. So see you next time.
Yeah,
and thank you very much. Yes, go ahead.
And I want to tell everybody, thank Gabriela for choosing me, and for her tireless work, and for her amazing work. She is an amazing artist. Check out her stuff. Absolutely phenomenal. So thank you.
That's a way better closing than I did. Martin, thank you so much.
All right.